like, I've suffered from imposter syndrome, and in my head I just couldn't wrap myself around that a man could suffer from imposter syndrome, because it's something that mainly is stuck with females, and b, that someone with his, you know, technical acumen would have experienced something like that. I do also think that, you know, at times you just have to, is it like turn a blind eye to these things, like really just not pay attention to it, because a lot of the time it's not even like a reflection of truth of who you are, but a reflection of themselves and their projections.
I'm here with the hosts of You Don't Look Like an Engineer podcast, and I'm super excited. It's a podcast host to podcast hosts discussion. I'm super excited for this, and look, I just love you guys just to tell me, like, what mission are you on, and who are you, and why are you here? I want to hear from both of you. Give me your spiel. Just give me your intro. Just give the listeners something so they can have a bit of background on each of you. And you can choose who goes first, obviously.
There you go.
Thanks for having us, Darren. Firstly, what are we on a mission to do? Our main mission, when we wrote this down the first time, was literally, I think, to make a robotic profession appear more human and relatable to like everyone. And since then, it's obviously taken many shapes and changes, and it's morphed into a lot more. But that was essentially our driver. We figured that, you know, there's so many incredible people that we are communicating with, interacting with every day, and we just wanted to share their stories and make it more that the perception people have of STEM, of these kind of professions, is very boring, very negative. Like, oh, it's not for me. I'm just behind a computer, you know, trapped. And that's an element, you know, to some degree. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but there's so much more. And there's a whole people aspect, and it can be fun and engaging, and there's just so much more to it. And obviously then the second layer is about equity and diversity, and that's our huge passion. But that's a passion generally across the board.
Thank you for having us. I didn't just want to throw the mic to someone. Before I answer that question, I just want to say that isn't it crazy that we actually met through our podcast? I think I reached out to you on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna share this story in our podcast, in your podcast, everywhere we go, because this is something that we love about what we do, meeting new people and, you know, finding people that think like you in a way, but also show you different perspectives of you know, the world and the industry. So I guess that's another thing that we really love about what we do. I had to say it. Why did we do it? So kind of sort of like share this stuff about, you know, engineering and I guess construction being seen as this industry that, yes, it is boring, or, well, in our reality, it is male dominated. And a lot of people were sort of like looking at it from a lens that were like, oh, like a little bit negative about, you know, the opposite gender sort of thing. And we see it in society, and we see it everywhere we go. We can't hide from it. But we also, when we look at it that way, we don't see the opportunity of what being a minority can be at times. And we wanted to sort of like help other people to shift that narrative and look at all the possibilities and opportunities that you had just from, you know, having a different way of looking at life, coming from a different background, and having a different gender. And again, like Sohan and I are very passionate about gender inequity. And as she said, not just in the industry, but in society. And I think that, we felt like we needed to make it more about real stories than just numbers and statistics and things that other people talked about in the office. We wanted to sort of like actually give them a mic and let them share about their journey, their life, and how they overcame those limiting beliefs and all of these things. So I guess to summarize, the why is just storytelling is a powerful tool.
That's literally the word I was thinking of. Because we've noticed in anything in life, you can't really empathize with something until you either know someone who's been through it or hear the story, and like it becomes instantly more relatable. And whatever human trait that stems from, we figured that's the most powerful way for people to effect change. Because when you give statistics and you say, oh, this is happening, it's like someone else is doing it kind of problem. It's not me, it's someone.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening, and it's like a they and me. situation.
Mm.
But when you're sharing a story about someone who works 5 benches away from you, right? Or someone you met and you're like, oh, this happens. They're so like, I relatable. I know this person. They're amazing. And then it's so personal that you want to affect change daily in your habits, and that is how eventually the ball rolls and things change.
No, I love that. You know, I'm big about breaking stereotypes, particularly about engineers. But I wanted to ask you just a very simple follow-up question. What does an engineer look like?
Well, we asked this question to like little kids.
Oh yeah,
it was
tell me.
interesting because they actually, well, the question was like, oh, draw an engineer, and they started drawing women, which we were very surprised with, to be honest. Because I do think that a lot of the times when you ask that question, a lot of people think about like, I don't know, like a train driver, I don't know, like on the
Hard hats.
Hard hat, maybe, hammer.
To me, because of the fact that I was raised by an engineer. An engineer looked like a man, but also like women. Like I saw him working with other people that weren't necessarily men. So I had that idea in my head. But yes, I'm not gonna lie, they did look quite boring. I'm sorry. Like in the sense, not boring. Okay.
Darren, there's no hope. This is it.
yeah. Sorry, boring.
Corporate, like uptight. And look, I came here to challenge that because we're not. I am an engineering and I was an engineer. And there's so much more to that. And I think you, as you navigate through, the corporate life, you realize that in order to even like be really successful, you have to sort of like let go of that stigma. I'm sorry.
No,
don't be sorry.
Fuck. You can go.
I think similar experience. I grew up in a family that owned a construction business. I was not unaware of this sort of industry, even though I didn't really know what role engineers play in that. But I'm starting to realize an engineer, best described as is more to me than meets the eye. They can look like anything these days. You never know. The person that you see surfing on the beach could be an engineer. Absolutely. So I'm glad that stereotype is shifting. Like when we saw the children, and education plays a huge role in this. They're being educated from a young age that don't view this as a stigma. There are so many women that are doing this, and so I think an engineer now looks a bit more diverse than it did previously. But where was I going with this?
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I think growing up, I didn't have the stigma that an engineer looked any type of way, because I come from a very cultural heavy background. So men in my culture don't look like men outside. So I wouldn't really have that perception that an engineer just looks like some guy just sitting behind a computer, whatever. I didn't have that perception at all. So.
Do you think that, and I reflect on this a lot, about a doctor looks like a doctor, a nurse looks like the nurse, like you mentioned, maybe the train driver has a uniform. Engineers don't seem to have a uniform, other than maybe like a puffy jacket and iron boots and some jeans, maybe a polo. But I don't know whether that's maybe more a project manager. Like, let's be honest, project managers out there. Do you think it's maybe just a lack that engineers haven't created a brand for themselves?
Yeah, there's a bit of a brand going on. I feel like they've got the blue pants and the button-up shirt and a front pocket, always got a pencil.
Cool, pacer.
yeah, pacer.
Pocket protector. Calculator.
Yes, of course.
Set square.
I do think that it's because they haven't created a brand for themselves. And it's funny because I don't think that engineers like creating brands for themselves or even selling or upselling. We talk about like women in engineering don't really sell their skills, or they don't promote themselves. It's not just women to begin with. It is engineers. As to why, I don't know. I'm yet to figure out. And I think that maybe in Australia, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's the tall poppy syndrome." Like people don't like talking about themselves. Yes, maybe there could be an element of that, but we also see it in other countries. So it's not just like I don't know. It probably is the way that it's more logical and rational, and there's a little bit less of that creative element in the type of people that are more inclined to apply to follow that career. Does that make sense?
I think it's
in my head. It was just like a lot of noise.
I read a quote. This was before I'd even gotten into engineering. It was talking about engineers, mostly in Dubai. And someone had said, like, everyone looks at these incredible structures and is like, wow, this looks so beautiful. But the name on it is either the person who paid for it or the person that designed it.
Yeah.
Or like the
architect.
architecturally, exactly. And then it was just like, but the engineer who walks past, he just has a little confidence, a little smile on his face, knowing everything he put in to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I think that sums up what engineers are like in general. It's people at the back end who like to prop things up and make it happen, rather than being on the front. Oh, this is what it's going to look like. This is who's going to enjoy it. But it's the satisfaction comes from just moving on to the next thing, making.
Do you think then engineers are becoming just the quiet achievers that aren't at the face or name of a project?
I would say generally. Yes.
I think we're challenging that now, though, with people like you and probably us. But yes, there could be.
I think
that
generally,
was what
probably,
the stereotype was. But something just attacked my brain. No, I'm kidding. I thought it just came up. And it might be also because of the responsibility that engineers have. Like a lot of people, when they work in something, they do feel like there's a lot of responsibility, like a bridge, a car park flooding, or all of these things. It's like infrastructure that is used every day. So they just want to make sure that, and I'm not saying that we're not responsible or that we're like, oh my God, we're not sure about the designs that we do, but it's like that level of making sure that the structure that they were part of works. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm going to throw in there because I just literally wrote about this the other day about doctors, they might stuff up, say, and they impact one person's life.
That's literally what I said.
And then, an engineer stuffs up and it will impact thousands. Whether it's a bridge or a car park flooding or whatever it is. And my view is that because of a lack of brand authority in society, engineers either aren't given enough credit for the work they do because no one knows what they do because they can't communicate what they do. There's not engineers out there like, oh, I built this car park to withstand this flood for these reasons and all your cars are safe. No, it's just a boring car park, right? Get over it. And then even further, I go, well, if no one knows what you do, then how can you build a brand so society understands the impact that you have? And then you go even further and just go, well, if no one knows what an engineer looks like, well, how are you supposed to give credit to someone that is invisible?
And then how do you promote the profession? And that's the biggest issue that in Australia at the moment we have. It's like, again, not just women. It's just we need more engineers.
Yeah, we really do.
And it's crazy because we see all of these projects. Enrollments in university. But we see all of these projects coming up. Like at least in Queensland with the Olympics. I'm like, wow.
Nice stadium, by the way.
I know, right? I'm like, wow, all of this infrastructure. But we have the labor for that.
Don't think so.
All of those things. Well, let's not get into it.
We can talk about that.
Because I'm not ready yet. That conversation.
I'm sure some people from Sydney will be helping.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't want to go across borders. But yeah, you're right. You're right. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
So, and that's one of the things that they talk about. When we talk about gender in engineering and construction, that's one of the things that we talk about, lack of representation, lack of role models. And yes, we don't see a lot of us in, leadership positions and things like that. But also, if you go and interview the students at university or school, they don't know what we do and they don't know the opportunities that they can actually have when choosing a career like we have. Look, again, I'm in marketing, but my actual degree is not yet in marketing or business, but I chose engineering and I have been able to sort of choose and I guess change my journey as I walk in the industry. And that's something that probably not everyone is aware of. And I think it's very important because a lot of the times people do have this view on engineering that is very just technical. And a lot of people, at least myself, I went to university and numbers were in my top-notch skill. Like my way of thinking outside the box, my creativity, or my people's skills were probably more stronger than the other ones. But that didn't mean that engineering wasn't right for me or that I wouldn't benefit the industry. So that's another thing that I think.
That's the message that needs to go across, I think. Especially now, like you said, now more than ever, a lot of workplaces are starting to wonder, how do we get more people applying to engineering? Because the numbers are dropping. And probably because people are looking at well-branded professions, even if it's just something as recent as being a YouTuber.
Or influencer.
Yeah, you know.
Lots of money in that.
Exactly.
Not.
Yes.
Oh, wait, there is. Yeah, sorry.
No, there is. It's not.
Okay, I'm only going to chuck in because
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a good friend of mine about the acronym STEM.
Yeah.
And his background, I think he's like a computer scientist, right? She's like, yes, S, we're first, right? I'm like, no, engineers should be first, should be STEM, right? And let's change it, let's flip
Spanish
it.
speakers could pronounce that, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
STEM.
I just want to get your take on that because I feel you've done the drawing, you've done the pictures, you've had some of that roles in like I've got 3 daughters and I constantly challenge them about stereotypes because I think it's fun, number one.
Absolutely.
But then secondly, how do you feel like that acronym might be impacting our profession or how it's portrayed? Because I see that as just this all-encompassing acronym that doesn't really give you what it is that you could do with it.
It's a really tough question, to be honest. I've never thought about it. I'm gonna complain. But I do think that as human beings, we love putting things on boxes and acronyms and all of these things. And yeah, it limits us. Every time that we do an event for a STEM, we think about science mostly. I don't know, that's probably my bias.
Yeah.
Agree. And when you say engineering and construction industry, then you're like touching on the engineering, construction, consulting. I just discovered that as we're speaking.
Well, is there an EDC? Is this a new acronym I don't know about?
No, STEM is a STEM.
Oh, STEM is okay. Sorry, I thought you were saying engineering, design, and construction or something.
There's one that is a STEM.
Yeah.
So
STEAM.
I was just going to say it's changing.
Oh, what's STEAM?
They've added arts in there?
Arts.
Architecture.
Arts, I think.
Arts.
Yeah.
So I think someone somewhere has figured out that this is needs to be a bit more.
Is that some art students like, hey, how can we get more students, enrollments? Oh, let's just chuck an A in there and we'll get with the engineers.
I don't know. I'm gonna Google
That's not
this.
best for art students, right? I'm just like, that was smart though, right? Really smart.
I'm checking these before we
can you fact check that? No phones allowed at the trivia table.
I'm a bit concerned that maybe someone actually went and did put it in order because as little recognition as the engineers get, I feel like the mathematicians probably get even less.
Agreed.
Yeah, and so somewhere there might be a hierarchy in this, which is a bit sad.
But it's true though, right?
I double checked Sohan and he's right.
Okay, yeah.
It is art. It is art. It's okay.
And maybe I think the main thing is people need to understand it's not really about the professions so much, but the style of thinking. And I think if we could brand engineering as a style of thinking, that would change. That would be the game changer. Because I feel like you hear a lot of CEOs and you see CEOs that are so freaking successful. And the main thing is they've started from an engineering degree, most of them, because it teaches you how to analyze and problem solve in ways that you don't learn elsewhere.
Yeah.
Is that a new E in the CEO?
Guys, it was hiding there all the time.
No, but I actually 100% I agree with you, and I do think that, for example, I think we interviewed you when we interviewed you. Sorry, I think when we interviewed you.
Feels like so long ago.
I know it was. I think it was. Yeah, it was like 2 years.
You can throw questions at me. I'm good for it.
Really?
Part 2.
No, but when you were talking about how like there's a lot of engineers that No, well, the CEO, the way of thinking, they're really good for that. Yeah. Because if you think about the CEO, like their position or like their roles and duties is like problem solving.
Yeah.
And not just technical problem solving. They probably do more people's problem solving than anything else.
Chuck any problem. But I think that's why STEAM makes sense. You can chuck the arts in there because it's like different styles of thinking, each one of them. Like a mathematician thinks very differently. Arts person thinks, I'm sure, of something differently. And
I hope we answered your question.
Look, I think it's
a tough one.
It's complicated, and
How would you answer it?
So yes, I think it does. I think unfortunately a 4-letter acronym confuses people. There's too many things in the bucket. There's science, technology. I mean, what does technology even mean? Like, do you have a career in technology? No, you don't. Can you get a career in maths? Yes, you can. You can be a mathematician.
Well, you can get a career in technology.
Yeah, well, where I'm going with that is what does that mean?
Okay, cool.
So I look at it and go, yeah, science. Okay, people go, yeah, science. You can be a scientist, right? Engineer, okay, I could be an engineer or engineering. Each one of those are so broad in their own category that I think piling them together in one 4-letter acronym just dissolves all of it.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, you know, it's a label, it's a box, it's a compartment in society that, in my mind, it covers. It's like putting doctors and lawyers together. You know, you're like, oh yeah, those LDs, yeah, and everyone's like, oh, but they're really different. Exactly, and I think they're so different that I believe it's watering down our profession, and that's nothing to do with science, technology, maths. Like, you know, I'm all about it. And it's not even about the order. I just think, unfortunately, because we've just thrown in this big label that people don't actually know what it means.
Yeah.
That's my view on it.
Yeah. And if I can go back to probably the branding, I feel like at least from what I learned at uni and even growing up, the discipline of engineering that's kind of taken the front poster face for all of engineering is structural.
Yeah.
And I think
really? I would have thought software.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I think software engineering is now become the pinnacle of
I was going to say roads in transport for some reason.
Okay, well then the whole statement's false because everyone's got a different...
It's funny because, okay, so how I got into engineering, for example, I was like, oh my God, I came to Australia and I was like, oh, the water in the roads when it rains, it sort of like flows like away from the road, like the crown. And you're like, okay, wow, great observation. Like my brother was like, what the fuck? Sorry for swearing. So I thought about that straight away and I was like curious to learn how they did that here. And the career that I sort of like did research on was civil engineering, right? And drainage. And that was the thing that actually drew me to engineering. But there's other people that I get drawn by, you know, the bridge, the harbour bridge. You come to Sydney.
Thing, that's what I mean. You ask anyone, you tell anyone I'm an engineer, or you ask anyone they want to do engineering, and they're like, oh, do you design bridges? Oh, I don't really want to design bridges. And I'm like,
high rises.
Yeah. And who somewhere said that bridges is all we do, you know? But to be honest, when I got into it, I didn't know how diverse it was as well.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
no one understands the streams.
Yeah.
Because you could have 8 to 15 things under the E.
Exactly.
That's just represented by big E.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I was thinking of that, and I do see that. And I feel like now more than ever, we need to find a way to rebrand because we're in an age where everything, as we know it, is shifting so much with AI and, you know, smartphones and technology. Yeah, there it comes again.
We can go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's changing so much that we do have to kind of reinvent. And whoever can reinvent is able to come out on top. And everyone else, I'm not really sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, pivoting is like ideal for any change.
Let's get to that because I really want to go there. But I'm going to tell a quick story first.
All right.
Go.
So, and it comes with a question at the end. So, I'm at the airport literally last week, and I'm at the airport, and I'm waiting with some friends, and I look over, and there's Veena Sahajwala, and I'm like, oh my God, wow. Because I've interviewed her and I haven't met her, I got super excited and I went over, I'm like, hey, how you going? She's like, yeah, we're like having this great chat. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can take a selfie, right? And this is me like so excited. I'm like, oh no, I won't. You know, I feel a bit embarrassed. You know, Veena, if you're watching, you're amazing. And for me, you know, she is, I would consider one of our most prolific, famous engineers in the media, particularly in Australia. And I wanted to ask you guys, who is that for you, or who do you think it is, maybe in Australia, if not globally, who do you think is our engineering poster child?
Well, interestingly enough, when we were sort of like coming here and we got the wrong address, Sohan and I were like in the bathroom of that building, and we were talking, this is important, we were talking about, you know, Sohan's activity for International Women's Day at work, that she brought up all of these females that, you know, not many people know about. And I was like, oh, interesting. And she mentioned Einstein's wife, whose name is, because you probably pronounce it better.
I don't know, I know your last name, Marvin or something, Marvin? Yeah. Melina? Yeah.
I
am this completely. Let's get it right.
This situation now proves a point.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
actually true. And that was the whole point behind the activity, but
Wow, fact checking again.
I just need look.
If anyone wants to fact check these facts that are now being looked up during the podcast,
There's no
please
need to, because look, we're
add
doing
a comment or do something. And
and
like and subscribe.
Mielva Marek. I don't know.
Milva.
Yeah, sorry.
Milva.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I have a lot of respect for that woman. In particular because obviously she was one of the first females doing engineering. She wasn't actually allowed to study in her home country, and she had to travel. And that was like the common denominator back then. Like a lot of women who couldn't study engineering had to travel overseas and finish their studies. But also the stigma that came with that, like there was just one woman in the classroom. The thing that we were talking about with Sohan in the bathroom and why this is relevant is because a lot of the discoveries that Albert Einstein had, she was very much the one that I guess helped him come up with things like his theories, and she was not credited. Her work wasn't recognized.
Her name's not on any of them. Basically.
Yeah, her name is not. Yeah, and not many people know. In fact, my brain betrayed me just before, and I had to double check it because it's such a difficult name for me. So yeah, I think that would have been like someone that I take my heart off to in this industry, of course. Just because of the fact that such an amazing woman also had to give up on her career because, not give up, but she stopped studying because she had a family. And back then, it was very difficult to do that. And I think that limited her profession and her progress in her career. So
I feel like 100%. There are so many to start off with. I think to answer the question, I don't know if there's any one in particular. Every time we hear about ladies or men from the past or present, it's always fascinating. And each one becomes like the new poster for me. Obviously you hear names like Marie Curie and Eddie Noir and all these people, and they're absolutely incredible. But for me, more personally now, it's the people I interact with and have worked with. I think to wrap up the thought, I feel like obviously there's many inspirations to draw on from people in the past. But for me currently, it's people I am interacting with and learning about how incredible they are in the profession day to day.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
But just to go at it again, right now, who is the most famous engineer in Australia?
Well, we interviewed one of the winners for the Professional Engineers of the Year in Queensland, and Sasha is her name. She's very inspiring, as Sohan was saying. I thought we were going way back, okay?
No, sorry.
You needed to put a date
clarify.
because I went like, we were talking about this with Sohan in the bathroom.
I guess,
it's
right
reality
now.
though.
Yeah.
Sasha is very inspiring in my opinion because, she's originally from the Sunshine Coast and she went to Brisbane and opened up her own gig after like 20 years. Obviously, you guys have to check out, and this is like, I'm going to advertise my podcast. But her journey is incredible in the way that she's overcome so many of the challenges, and now she has her own consulting firm and she's giving jobs to people and promoting the industry. So I think that's very impressive.
Diana. Do you remember Diana? Diana? I forgot how to say her name. Who's now in Portugal?
Oh, Diana.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Oh my God, that woman is inspiring.
Exactly.
I think that, do you find though that that's a very much within the industry thing? Because I guess where I'm trying to go is household name engineer, and that it's coming back to that issue, that problem that we're really trying to highlight. I don't know how to answer that
because I couldn't name drop.
Because when I said, it's Venus Sahawata, and everyone's like, where is she?
Exactly.
And I'm like, but she's on the TV. She's on ABC. Oh, is she? New Inventors, or this show, or this thing. Or she was on the Waste Fund with Root Castle. Everyone's like, I know that show. Oh, she was on that. Cool. Relationship. They can relate. My friends can go, okay. That's what I think our industry desperately needs.
I guess not just to bring the other perspective on this, not to obviously you're right, not discrediting it, but could you name drop household names for doctors or?
Yeah. What was that eye doctor guy? Yeah, exactly, right? The heart surgeon, Victor Chang. Yeah, well, why not? Like, yeah, you can, right? Well, I mean, maybe you say, what about lawyers, barristers, SCs? Yeah, I guess
feel
you're
like
right.
There's so many professions that are, if they're not entertainment, mainstream people are not really looking at it, you know?
But that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I think that needs to change.
That would be great.
How would you change that?
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I think you break it down one conversation at a time. But that's where I look at it and I go, and that's why I loved Vina and her passion and her being on TV and things like New Inventors, like the waste angle. You know, you look at it, if the metro was opened by a politician and everyone's like, I love the metro. Oh, you're an engineer. Tell me all about it. And I'm like, I wasn't on that project, but sure.
Yes.
And I start banging on about everything. They're like, oh my God, you know so much about the metro. I'm like, well, I know how tunnels work and I know how the segmenting work and the concrete mix. And I could just talk all day about anything engineering.
Yeah.
But are we on TV talking about that? No. And where I'm going is if engineers or an engineer, whoever it was, could be maybe more mainstream or have that limelight, that 7-second grab or be on the ABC or SBS or whatever it is, I actually think that would seriously help our profession. Yeah. That's my view.
I absolutely agree with you. How do you think that would be perceived in the industry in terms of competency? Do you think that people that upsell or, you know, promote themselves on LinkedIn or any other main or like channel, do you think that that goes against their competency or their reputation in the industry?
No. So I believe that to be confident, you have to be technically competent. So I don't think you have to be both. I don't think you can go out there saying, I know this, I know that, without being confident to say it. And that just goes against our code of ethics if you're going to do that. I don't think this is about showboating or boasting or, saying I'm the best. That's not what it's about. It's about showcasing engineering in general and a spokesperson. Because that's all it really needs. I mean, I'd love to be that person if anyone's watching TV. But that, for me, would be something that people could relate to because no one talks about it. And I don't feel we have a spokesperson.
Definitely not. This is just based off conversations and people around me that I have heard. There is an element of perception that comes in, especially because exactly there is a. I don't think it's because you are not competent, but I feel like there's a length and breadth, like depth and breadth that goes into refining your skills as an engineer, which naturally, as people, we have a limited amount of time. If you are now focused on also promoting the field, which is so important, and I think people might miss the importance of that day-to-day in their day-to-day role, they kind of be like, like just wasting their time doing that. They're not honing in on their skills, so they're not as competent. So they'll work on a project and maybe the person doesn't know as much as they do. And so I've heard conversations where people be like, they just showing off all the stuff they do on LinkedIn, but I've worked with them, they don't know shit. And you're like, it's not exactly like that. So unfortunately, people are people, they function from a place of bias. It does factor in. And I've heard that not just about one person, multiple people, and sometimes it is something we are concerned about as well, what that means. So I think that's part of the issue when developing poster children for this engineering profession.
Yeah. My 20 cents. My only...
You should call this podcast 20 cents. With
2 cents. My 2 cents. Literally, tagline, my 2 cents, your photo. Wait for 5. Yeah.
But the only thing that I would add on that is also, as you said, we're only human. And in the industry, there's also people that, like anywhere in the world, there is insecurities and there is, everyone has a different personality, a different perspective. And when there's a lot of people that promote themselves, because I have lived first-hand experience, when I applied to my Engineers Australia award, and I got it. Sorry.
Another plug here. We have the poster child ready.
Yeah,
she
step
is
up.
the face of engineering.
You do look like an engineer.
There were a couple of looks or like a couple of comments made, and you know, like obviously I do have thick skin, but if I wasn't in that mental space, or if there wasn't something that, you know, I believe about myself, it would have made an impact. And I think I've shared this in the past in, you know, places like LinkedIn, or, you know, social media. When I was in engineering, yeah, there was that element of like, you know, being like, do I know enough about this to speak about it? Yeah. And that sort of like sometimes limits, and again, this is just myself limiting myself from promoting myself and the industry, therefore.
Say myself.
Myself. Do you mean stop?
Sorry.
20 cents. No,
He's like, my editing team's gonna fire themselves.
We're keeping this in.
We're gonna have a blooper. It's gonna be great.
So I do think that even though we do want to promote it, we also have to be honest with the fact that not everyone is like you, Darren, and feels extremely confident about being on camera.
But I feel like it comes from, we in the profession have not realized we also have the stereotype that engineering is just about being technical.
Yes.
You know, and it's so ingrained that we feel like anyone who is not focused on, the technical is gonna be, you know, useless. Not useless,
Absolutely.
but like, you know, less useful.
And I say this because, you know, you were talking about promoting. And in order to, now that you know, like when you started your own consulting firm, you might have had to do some promotion about your services. And you obviously had clients line up because of your reputation, I bet, and the work that you did in the past. But you also have to promote yourself to get work and to keep growing your firm. And when you talk about engineers that are in positions that is like, you know, a management position, their responsibility is not only managing a team, it is also bringing work in. And there's a lot of people that I know that do not enjoy that part of the job. It's like they hide under the desk and they'd rather just deal with the technical computer stuff than actually going out there and making connections. It might be because of, you know, the personality, it might be because of the technical driven, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
But it is a thing.
But look how successful branding can like give you a reputation. Like I would say, look at the.
Oh my God! Yes. Well,
another plug.
No. But
not there anymore.
If we talk about marketing and, you know, the brand that they established,
a brand, they're like a cult. You know, cult level.
She said it online. This is not me.
It's just incredible. Like it's all like. Honestly, like the man was incredible of Arab, and I think I, you know, strongly align with his philosophy in life. But honestly, they're really good at branding, like the Arab way, the Arab ideologies.
Arabians.
Yes, it is a thing. Exactly.
I know about that.
Yeah. So I remember at uni, like my lecturer was telling me when I had job offers coming in, I was like, look, it's between these two companies, and he's like, okay, my wife has worked there, and I will let you know, it's a bit cultish. Because it's just so, and it's not in a bad way. When you like, you kind of, when you're there, you'll know. Yeah, just the whole branding of it is so complete and so all encompassing that I think having a brand is absolutely like necessary.
Oh no, I'm going now. Yeah. I mean, you guys can talk amongst yourselves, like, you know, 2 cents here, 10 cents there. That's fine. Again, so many takeaways and. I'm all about personal branding for engineers. I speak about that. And people go, oh, engineers don't need a personal brand. Like, that's just for like people online and stuff. And I'm like, no. You need to understand, because if you can't tell your own story, then you talked about storytelling, you got nothing, right? I wanted to really pick up on the bias, because you talked about it a little bit, you know, you went for this award. You had the haters, the people who were like maybe downing what you were doing, what you were saying, maybe how you're promoting yourself. How you said you had a thick skin. How did you get through that? Because that for me, and like, I understand it. I just want to know how maybe you got through that.
I think, you know, like, is something that you go through it, I guess, every day as well, because it's like a mental battle, and we all have some. It's obviously days that are better than others, but I think what really helped me was to show myself the proof of how I got to where I got, in the sense that it just didn't happen naturally it didn't fall on my lap. And I think the application process for the award even highlighted the fact that I met the criteria. You see these award applications in different industry awards, and there's people that they don't actually meet the criteria. And I think that just grabbing that data and being like, okay, these are actual facts, like it's not made up, it really helped me. Just like it is something that I work for. And also I think surrounding myself by good sponsors slash people that advocated for me, like my the person that nominated me is Stuart Cook. He
What a legend.
Oh, he's an absolute legend, and he had shared with me at the start when I even like joined BGNE for the first time. He was like, I've suffered from imposter syndrome. And in my head, I just couldn't wrap myself around that A man could suffer from imposter syndrome because it's something that mainly is stuck with females. And B, that someone with his, technical acumen would have experienced something like that. So knowing a different facets of him and having him supported me was really special. I do also think that, at times you just have to, is it like turn a blind eye to these things? Like really just not pay attention to it. Yeah. Because a lot of the time it's not even like a reflection of truth of who you are, but a reflection of themselves and their projections. So it's a lot of mental strength, I guess.
Congratulations again, by the way. Second plug. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, all right. Thank you for that. It's funny because I had to laugh. Had someone ring me and it was like, posting a lot lately. I'm like, yeah. Even on the weekends. Oh, yeah. Do you have a life? I'm like, yeah. Oh, well, just seems to be taking over. I'm like, it's doesn't take very long. Yeah. You can schedule posts as well. Like,
I know.
You're like, but then there was like a straight dismissal of everything I've said and, okay, now onto this thing. And I'm like, didn't really get where that one was coming from. But you're right. I think to ignore it, maybe laugh about it. Yeah. And I think everyone gets imposter syndrome that puts themselves out there.
I think so. I think it's
a
human thing. That's where it comes from, and you
just
accept that it's probably coming from a place where they probably feel like, I couldn't do that, or like, how are they able to do this sort of thing, and you just take it.
I think the hard thing is like, when I don't know, in my head, I'm like, why is that we have to make those type of comments? Why can't we just say like, oh my God, you're posting every day, even on the weekends. Done. What, like, I really admire your dedication to growing your page. So it's like, why is that humans are designed to always critic? No idea.
It's a human trait.
It is, absolutely.
Now, I threw it out there and I don't know, but I'm very happy you guys want to ask me anything. I'm very open to that.
You have a question?
I was going to ask, because you've had so many more conversations since you started your podcast. It's doing very well, so congratulations on that as well.
Plug.
Plug.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Have you had any changes in perception about the industry or the people in the industry? Like, what have you taken away?
Yeah, two banger question. Yes, surprisingly, you find the people that come out of the woodwork. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of people left of field who aren't engineers reach out. My friends' kids, like their daughters listening, they're on their YouTube. They're on YouTube, right? Because that's the kids. Yeah. And they're like, they're linked to their parents' account. Maybe their parents listened in, or just I gave them a link on WhatsApp or something, and then they're like, hey, Jasmine's dad's on YouTube. Like, what's going on here? And then they're listening to it, and I'm like, oh my God! Like, there's a child audience listening to engineering podcasts, and I see that and go, that is something that I never could have anticipated. Yeah. The other thing is, having someone ping you and say, hey, thanks so much for this podcast XYZ. It inspired me to start my own business And now I got my first client, and if I didn't listen to your podcast, that wouldn't have happened.
Wow.
You know, and that is the main, that is the dream, right? If someone could get something out of these conversations, a thought bubble, an idea, the chance to try something new, or get the kids in STEM, mind the acronym. The other thing, I think, of the second part of your question about what have I gotten out of it, so many rich conversations. There's been so many people who have inspired me to challenge my own beliefs and get better. And yeah, I'm just so excited to get to the point where, and hopefully, I'll write a book about it.
Oh, beautiful!
Very nice.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. So yeah, watch this space.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I guess we've talked about the nice things, but what have, with all the things that you do have on your plate, and we were talking about social media presence and everything, has there been any point where you have gotten a little bit overwhelmed by all the stuff that you do? And if that's the case, how have you overcome it and continue pushing through?
Yeah, I do a lot of things, and I've got a young family. I've got 3 or 4 different roles and hats that I wear. I try to manage my time, I think, like everyone does. Yes, I have been overwhelmed. In where I am, being overwhelmed means not in control. And if you're not in control, that's when I go, oh, I'm overwhelmed. So getting in control means that I can do just as much as I want to do, as long as I'm in control. And to do that is about being in the moment. So to be in control, you need to slow down. I don't rush at anything. People say, oh, you work so fast. And I'm like, that's me slow. I'll be going at a million miles an hour. But for me, that's slow because I can take every moment as it is. So I find now being in the moment like this, I'm not thinking about anything else other than this conversation, right? My brain's not somewhere else. When I'm in a meeting, I'm in the meeting. And if I'm not, I walk out. Or if I'm in Teams, I'll just say, be right back, and I won't come back because I don't need to be there. And I'm very open about that, and I set expectations around that. If I'm there to make a decision, I'll make the decision. And then if there's nothing else for me to do, I'm like, well, do I need to do anything else? I'll listen in, great, I'll just listen and keep working. And setting those boundaries and expectations, I think, with those around you, whether they're not their clients or sub-consultants or friends, colleagues, employees, whatever it is. So for me, the way to get around it is to be in the moment and slow down.
Wow, nice. That's a really nice, being present helps with everything.
Again, I was going to say, good advice that anyone listening can get.
I feel like I've already learned so much. And I've really
haven't really shut up.
You have. But I guess it's just, putting it out on the flip side because, again, I thank you guys for, that podcast and that experience. It opened up my eyes and inspired me to have these conversations.
That's so sweet, honestly.
And to be able to have more conversations like these because, yes, some of it is about you, but our shared passion in growing the brand of engineers, I think, is really powerful. And I just love to have more conversations like these because sometimes it's not about us and it is about engineering and engineers. And, I think if anyone, we're both on the same, the same charge forward. So, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. Please like and subscribe. It helps us reach so many more aspiring engineering professionals and entrepreneurs. You can find us on LinkedIn, Spotify, and YouTube.